Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, put your feet up. It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast with Declan McCormack, Wayne Mullins and Dan.
Three lads, one podcast.
On this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast, Eileen Ring makes her grand return. Dickie gets to touch the jacking off hand. We have both the Derry and Shams reviews, and we figure out how Dickie copes with the fame. All this and more on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Ooh, welcome to the Other Three Amigos podcast. Season 3, episode 6. I'm not keeping that up, Jesus Christ. Episode 170 in total, your award-winning podcast for 2022. We are now on Patreon, patreon.com/ToeTap. Be sure to retweet, as it's so important to help the pod grow. We're recording at the later time, well, originally for 9. It's now 9:30 after technical difficulties. How did you get on trick or treating tonight, my other two amigos? Eileen Ring, we shall start with you.
Hi lads, how are you? I got on great, yeah. Great haul down in Carrigaline. I apologise in advance for A, not being as cranky as Wayne, and B, for the fireworks in the background.
It sounds like a war zone. It sounds like Baghdad outside the window. I don't know if you can hear it at all. Decky, how did you get on trick-or-treating?
Man, it's a silly thing these days, it seems, because like we have to drive from house to house for a start. There's no walking with bags, as I remember it, and lots of houses, lights off, gates closed.
They knew you were out.
Obviously, if Damien was here, he said that, yeah, there's Eileen stepping in, right, bang on time. But yeah, disappointed 5-year-old, I have to say. But look, it's fine. We stuck our heads in bowls of water and plucked apples out of them and did all those kind of things. So it was good fun.
Okay. Moving on, we're going to move things straight off to... So nice, had to be played twice. Under 19s lost to Watford 1-0 at home. Under 17s or under 15s didn't play by the looks. Under 14s beat Bohs at home. 2-1. David Dunn and Joe Meskela with the goals there. The women's senior team, I am interested this week anyway. Did they have a game?
No, Daniel, they didn't.
Thank Christ.
As anybody interested in the women's team would know.
I'm sure, 10 disappointed people out there. We'll drive it straight on into Call Me Watch.
Call Me Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Should get that one going the next time Stephen Bradley and Rovers come down. The Shed corner block ban now was transferred to the Derry game. Eileen, how did that affect your match day experience?
It was terrible. It was so weird. Like, I sat over in the Derry Nan Road. It was a grand view, like, but it was just, I thought it was weird. Like, there was no atmosphere in there. I would imagine even for the players coming out, it was an odd experience. And I think they went up to the top of the Derry Nan Road, some of the lads with the drums and stuff, but like you couldn't even hear it down the far side of the stand. So yeah, it was shit. Stop throwing bottles at players, lads, please.
Did you not venture into the Donny Ford at all?
No,
what was the decision process behind going into the Derry Nan as opposed to the Donny Ford? Could be sitting beside your good friend Decky.
Yeah, I was just trying to avoid Decky, yeah, to be honest. I didn't want him, like, I didn't want to be around him when he was, like, leading kids astray and such, you know, so stayed across the pitch.
You are stepping up as the new Shreenan tonight. Decky, I presume you couldn't give a shite. You were just enjoying the view from the family section.
Not in the slight. Oh, no, like, lads, seriously, like, no, it made no difference to my match day experience one way or the other, you know. Okay. We were happily ensconced in the Donny Ford.
But
That shall never change.
Dick, you then went jacking off Saturday night. And then you went to the Cove match. Can you tell us a bit about your experience?
I tell you, lads, genuinely, like, it was the most quintessential League of Ireland throwback night you could ever wish to experience. Like, I mean, it bucketed down rain. We got soaked to the skin. Then you're cold and your feet are wet because you're soaked. There's a game of football happening in front of you that should probably be abandoned at half time, should definitely be abandoned 20 minutes into the second half. But it's never going to be abandoned because there's absolutely no other chance in the calendar at any stage to actually replay the game, you know? You have kids running, do you know, Cove between the wall of the pitch and the stand. The whole place flooded. And you just have kids running through the puddles of water, just soaked from their fucking heads to their toes, like, you know? And you're just looking at it like, Christ almighty, what are you doing? Like, your mothers are going to kill you when you get home, like. Didn't care. Fellas pissing against walls because the jacks are too far away and they couldn't be bothered going, you know, walking around and going to the toilet. Like, yeah,
kids running away from you and
it was
Corky
just
pissing
such
in the
a
corner.
throwback. And you're just standing there going, why are we're here because we love it. Like, it's like there's nowhere else in the world you'd rather be, even though you're soaked, you're frozen. It's an awful, awful, awful game of football. There's fellas pissing in the corner. It's just, but it was, as a throwback, it was the most, as I said, quintessential League of Ireland night I've had in years. And in fairness to Cove, they won with the only, well, they drew the game, they won the tie with the only bit of skill that was produced by anybody in 90 minutes. And of course, it was the maestro himself who produced it, like some ball in those conditions. And Cove play Waterford next Saturday night in Turner's Cross.
You got to speak.
See how that goes.
To said maestro. How did that go?
Yeah, sure. Look, I mean, it was good to talk to the man. Like, he's a nice guy. He's a fantastic player, probably the best player in the division, and he was very happy to speak to us. And he finds the whole jacking off stuff funny.
Yeah,
which is
what was your last line?
Be, you know, so
your last line.
So the whole of Cove will be jacking off for the week, you know. But sure, look, I mean, that's the way it should be, you know.
And Shane Keegan, we've got a relationship with him now as well.
Shane is sound.
Did he give
he is genuinely maybe the nicest man in League of Ireland football.
Don't disrespect Richie like that. Did he give any hints he might be coming to
man in League of Ireland football?
Did he give any hints he may be coming to Cork City next year?
I didn't ask the question deliberately. I said I wouldn't, but I did tell him. I did say to him as I was leaving, there's 2 questions I didn't ask you tonight that I will ask you next week, you know. So we won't tell him what they are because I know he's listening, but he can definitely guess one of them anyway.
Perfect stuff. The match day graphics, they read Shamrock. I think they've been doing this actually a while. Obviously, big fans of the pod in Cork City, as we know. So we have Richie on about us versus them mentality, and now Howie in with the whole Shamrock thing. That was great to see. But we're moving on swiftly, I think, to the no guard of honour. Eileen, your initial thoughts on this whole debacle. We'll start off with City not doing it in the first place. We'll move on to Bradley's comments then.
Yeah, look, for me, guards of honour are nonsense in football. Like, there's no need for them. A huge amount of respect for Richie Holland for making the decision that he did and not having one. And the only issue here is the Shamrock manager who's decided to show a complete lack of respect. And look, that lad's just a wet wipe. Like, he just wants to whinge over something every week. You've just won the league and you still want to whinge over something. He's the only person he's shown absolutely no respect to our manager by refusing to use his name, despite the fact that he was congratulated and given 2 bottles of champagne. It's absolutely pathetic stuff. It's small-minded. And look, he obviously had nothing to whinge about because his board have presumably given him his pot of gold for the next season again. So he had to find something else to give out about. But it's nonsense, like, and no players don't want guard of honour, management don't want, clubs don't want it. He just wants something to give out about. He's a pleb, I'm sorry now. And yeah, that's my feelings on it. In Richie we trust, and I'm delighted we didn't do one. That's my feelings on it, really.
Decky, it's going to be hard to top that.
I'm okay with that. Maybe Eileen might come on every week. Well, she's right, though. And here's the thing. It was a non-story. It was nothing until Stephen Bradley made it into this big, massive story. A hullabaloo over absolutely nothing. Like, you've won 3.5 league titles on the trot. Why are you getting bothered about whether you get a guard of honour in Cork or not? Like, it doesn't make much sense. You should be comfortable enough in your own achievements that you don't give a flying toss about whether the side second bottom of the league give you a guard of honour or not. Like, are you that insecure in your own achievements that you need to have those achievements validated by the side who are second bottom? Why? What difference does it make to you? As I said, it doesn't make sense to me as such. And like, he talks about a lack of respect and all these things, and he's calling Richie weak. And as Eileen says, and I wrote about today in the piece I did on the website,
very good piece.
He doesn't use Richie's name once. Doesn't use his name once. That to me was the biggest mark of disrespect we've seen in the League of Ireland in many years, because he did numerous media interviews. He did RTE, he did Red FM with Cullum, Dan MacDonald was there, so I know he spoke to Dan MacDonald because Dan MacDonald quotes him. He did other newspapers, he did other, and not once in all those interviews did he use Richie's name. So it's a conscious decision not to acknowledge Richie by name. None of us conduct ourselves like that. None of us conduct ourselves like that. And it won't get spoken about because his buddies in the Dublin media aren't going to speak about it. But I'm going to speak about it, and Eileen's spoken about it. And it's beyond disrespectful. Beyond disrespectful. And wasn't that long ago, 5 or 6 years ago, when Stephen Bradley, every Shamrock Rovers fan in Ireland wanted Stephen Bradley gone. And other managers went to bat for Stephen Bradley when they'd finished, after games against Shamrock Rovers, and they'd be asked, Bradley's under massive pressure at Shamrock Rovers. I can remember JC doing an interview after a televised game against them and saying, no, they should stick with him. He'll get it right, etc., etc. Managers who could have punched down on him didn't punch down on him. They stood up for him and backed him and encouraged the Shamrock Rovers to stick with him. And it all worked out well for him. Now, he's one of the senior managers in the league, if not the senior manager in the league. Richie's doing his, was it his third game as manager? He has a chance to stand up and take some of the pressure off a new manager. Richie's only 36. He's only cutting his teeth. And what does he do? He decides to punch down on him, try and piss all over him. That. Have a small bit of cop on. Have a small bit of bocha, It's very easy to punch down. And that's all Stephen Bradley wanted to do last night, was punch down. Punch down on Richie Holland and punch down on Cork City Football Club. And I, for one, am delighted that we stood up, because this morning, Cork City fans are united behind their manager. I'm sure the players are united behind the manager. The club are united behind the manager. Stephen Bradley did more for Cork City last night than Cork City have done for themselves all season, because he helped unite the club. The club was splitting. There was obvious splits between the fan base and the team. They were growing wider by the week. This morning, today, tomorrow, next week, everybody's much closer than they were last week. And it's all in the back of standing up for Richie Holland and backing up what he did. So, maybe come the end of the season when we win the playoff game, maybe we might look back and actually thank Stephen Bradley. And I hope in 5 or 6 years' time that Richie Holland's in a position where he'll be one of the senior managers in the league, having brought Cork City back to the brink, having won league titles. And I know Richie won't punch down on young managers coming up the way he was punched down on last night.
I don't think I can follow up, to be honest, from either of the two of you. Eileen, is there anything you want to add to what Decky said there?
No, just probably to reiterate, like if Richie is in the position that the Shamrock manager is in a couple of years' time, like he wouldn't behave like that because he just has too much about him. He's like, just park football for a minute, like, and there's a little bit of humanity has to come into play as well. And someone has shown none, and someone has shown an awful lot. And as he said, I was delighted Richie Holland was our manager anyway. A huge amount of time for him, but even more so this morning. So yeah, I'm quite happy to sit here and guarantee that he wouldn't behave like that. Because it's just not with it. It's just not in him. He's just too good a lad. So I just said, look, we're united and onwards. As I said, it's a non-story anyway, as far as I'm concerned. It's only one person has made it a story, and it's just out of this desire to, he whinges every week. Like, do you know what I mean? Just shut up. Go to Lincoln and go away.
Yeah. But it wasn't as if he was taken by surprise about the whole thing when I'm... Will I go? From what I can gather, that they had a conversation before the game, and I presume Richie. It seems Richie explained the whole situation in, and still, Bradley was ultimately an absolute crybaby about the whole situation. I'd prefer the 2 bottles of Moe to a guard of honour every single time. Don't know what his issue is, and hopefully Richie gets his own back someday, which I do believe he will. And also KM2 TV Archive can absolutely stuff it after he had to go on our Twitter earlier. Were you confused? Oh, what was the situation again, Dick? You'll be better explaining this than I will.
I know, it was just we did a little video with that Dry Your Eyes Mate song and Guards of Honour from rugby games, and that account said he forgot this one and put up a picture of what he thought was Cork City giving Dundalk a guard of honour onto the pitch above in Dundalk, but it actually is from the year that both ourselves and Bray Wanderers had the exact same home jersey. So while it looked like us, it was actually Bray Wanderers were the team giving Dundalk the guard of honour onto the pitch. So it was quite funny because he's a Bohs fan and he likes his gotcha moments with us. So while he thought he had his gotcha moment, he actually had made a complete and utter bollocks of it. But I'm not sure it's even worth talking about, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to say any more.
I feel like I'm missing a load from me and Jake here both dying here. I feel like we're missing a load from Commie Watch, to be honest. I went into the club shop over the weekend. All good, I thought. The only thing is, we're still selling those First Division Champions t-shirts. It's just, and there's a lot of them there. It just looks a bit.
But look, hold on to them. They might be useful again this time next year, you know. So
we'll go start sticking on hopefully some new players onto the old ones. There was one thing I wanted to say when I was at Turner's Cross. That terrible Dropkick Murphys song, Blood. They come out to not after all plays when they're. It's absolutely dirt. I don't know whose decision that is, but you need to change that. They've been sticking with it for a while, lads.
It's terrible.
It is shocking. Dickie, have you paid any attention to it?
Not in the slightest, lad. If it's not from the 80s or early 90s, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. People talk about Taylor Swift and all these people.
They say Taylor Swift.
Never heard of Taylor.
Who talks about her?
But I'm just giving an example. Never heard a Taylor Swift song in my life. Couldn't tell you the name of one Taylor Swift song. Couldn't tell you who's number one in the charts at the moment. Couldn't tell you who the biggest selling artists are. Haven't a notion, lad. Not a clue. You said Dropkick Murphy. I was like, what's that? Who's that? Dunno. No, not a notion. None. And I'm quite happy with that. I'm happy in my own world. Quite contented.
Once you know about Carousel, we're grand, Jack.
It's good. Yes, Carousel, Les Mis, Evita, you know. That's one of my favourite genres of music.
Something Decky definitely does know stuff about is football. And we're moving on now to the Derry review from Friday. City 0, Derry 1. Eileen, we'll go to you first. Can you sum up our performance from Friday night?
Yeah, I thought we were very, very good in the first half. I should have been ahead. I'm not sure. Like, I was talking to someone who was behind the goal, and although I was raging that I saw the Lino on that side finally make a decision all by herself, and it was one obviously went against us. I think the ball actually was out from the cross. It's like, you have never made a decision in your career, and here we go. Of course, it's one against Cork City. She couldn't make a decision a few weeks ago, and John O'Donovan was being fouled right in front of her, though. But anyway, the second goal for me, like, that's never a free. And like, if anything, like, Connolly fouls Keaton, I think, like, that was from my view anyway. I thought we were really, really good. And equally, we were really, really awful in the second half. I think our subs were quite poor. They performed really, really, like, poorly when they came on, with not going in hammer and tongs in any player. And the goal, now don't get me wrong, because as a strike, it's a cracking strike, like, but Jesus, Mary and Joseph, the clearance first, and then a couple of lads throwing their arse instead of throwing a boot into tackle. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, if you're a coach in under 12 side, you'd probably show that of how not to defend, which is frustrating. And obviously, look, that kind of condemns us to the playoff when you tie in Saturday night. But like, there's positives from the first half, but then like the second half, we kind of almost reverted to type. But look, conditions were hard. The pitch is desperate, but it's the same for both sides, I think. So yeah, I think the goal we concede is particularly infuriating for everyone there and everyone watching on, because it said there's just so many opportunities before the ball falls to him. Like, and as said, I'm not taking away from the strike, because it's a brilliant, brilliant strike. It's just, I suppose, the build up to that. And I'm not going to blame just one player. There's copious amounts of players to blame. Wayne, I know you're listening, waiting for me to throw one player under the bus. I'm not going to. I'm going to throw 5 or 6 of them under the bus. That has to be better. Like, it really has to be better. Look, once the first clearance is poor, there's still a number of other players there that can intervene a little bit better. So yeah, look, frustrating, because as I said, I think at halftime I was like, yeah, geez, we have them here, we're going to take them, and we push this on. But look, that's football, and I suppose that's the way our seasons went, and I don't think we really got any decisions. I'm not going to say many decisions, I'm going to say any decisions. We never get those 50-50 calls. Like I said, that's as much a foul on Connolly as it is on Keating. Like, but they get the free. So anyway, yeah, frustrating night, but anyway, over to Decky for his actual proper educated summary of the game.
Well, that was very good.
I learnt a long time ago that how do I phrase this now? What I was going to say, I can't hold my, I don't know. Oh, fucking forget it. I learnt a long time ago that Eileen's knowledge of the game is far greater than mine.
You were holding your back there.
We leave it there.
Jesus. It's a lot better behaved than last time.
There's going to be some edit. Stop. Yeah, but look, I mean, Eileen's hit all the main points there. I think that the big one was that it was coming into half time. We were talking in the chat group about Derry were going to make adjustments at half time, and how would we come out second half? And again, it's the same regular story all year. Derry did make adjustments at half time, and we just couldn't cope with them. And like, they bring Patrick McElhenney off the bench, they bring Sam Todd off the bench. You know, we're bringing Gordon Walker and Jason Kavia, like, and a few more, like, you know, and it's just, that's not having a go at those guys. But I'm just saying the difference in quality between a Patrick McElhenney and the lads we brought on is significant, like, you know, and that's where the game was fundamentally won and lost. And here's the thing, people at Cork City know that. Like, Richie straight out after the game, when talking to the media, referenced quality and referenced our lack of quality. And it was actually the first time I heard somebody say it all year, straight out. We lack quality. And this is one of the things that's starting to endear me to Richie Holland. He's just saying things as they are, as he sees them, you know? And he's correct. We've said this all year. We've a massive issue with quality. We just don't have any, you know? We have Rory Keating, top scorer in the league, 13 league goals. And we create nothing for him. We created nothing for him against Derry. We created nothing for him against Shamrock Rovers. We've created nothing for him all year. Imagine how many goals that man would have scored this season if he had some quality ball coming into the box. If he had quality passes been played his way. And we just don't have it. And it's just something we just need to get through the season. Back to the old stuff again. We've just got to find a way to win the playoff. And then we need a serious squad overhaul with a serious injection of quality. And the 2 first half goals, people's down that end, to be fair, say the ball was out of play. Okay, but Eileen makes the point. We never get those 50-50s. You know, I'm laughing as Eileen talking about Michelle O'Neill making the decision. You know, I'm not going back over that ground again. But the second one, it's a push by Connolly onto Keating, who then ends up on top of the other of McJanet, isn't it? It's one of those decisions that's always a free out, but it's never given as a penalty. You know? And it's just very frustrating. We deserved to go in ahead, but the second half was abysmal. It was poor. And look, Eileen's referenced the goal. That goal is just a cacophony of shit from start to finish. There's no other way of describing it.
So beautifully.
There's just not. And we can try. We can be nice about it and whatnot. But there's a clearance back across our own area. Under 9s, you're told you don't do that. It's the first thing I learned as a centre back. Do not play the ball across your own area. Then there's 3 failed attempts to win the ball. And then, God love us, you've Jace Kabia on the edge of the box, he's out for a morning stroll or something, you know? I mean, come on, you're wearing the shirt, you're wearing the crest. At least pretend you're interested. At least pretend you want to know. And the most interesting thing for me, the whole thing was, of all the substitutions that Richie made on Monday, Jace Kabia didn't see the pitch. Nobody will ever convince me that those 2 events aren't connected. Richie Holland knows what he saw, or what he didn't see, in Jace Kabia's efforts to stop Ronan Boyce getting that shot off. He knows what he saw, and he didn't get minutes on Monday. And that for me is brilliant, because there's no consequences for your actions or your lack of actions for players. Too long the players have been getting away with all the bullshit and the rest of it, you know? There's no consequences for your inaction. And look, we don't ever call players out here, but we're also a fans podcast, and fans listen to this and they want to hear their views reciprocated and spoken about. There wasn't one person left the ground on Friday night who didn't just shrug their shoulders and go, what was that? What kind of an effort was that? There was just none there. So I'm going to call it. I don't care, you know. That's just life. It's not a personal go at Jace Kabia. There was just no effort there. There was just no desire there. There was no want there to stop Ronan Boyce, you know. And then the petulance down in the corner afterwards, throwing the ball against the ground and acting, look how upset I am that I didn't get a throw in that I clearly knocked out of play. Just stop, just stop. Nobody's falling for it. You're fooling nobody, You're fooling nobody. People didn't look at that and think, oh, there's a guy who's really upset and giving his all for the shirt. They looked at it and thought, this guy's trying to have us on here, But
it's been the same.
City fans aren't having it, so look.
It's been the same since he came in. It's kind of been the story of it. He'll do nothing, and then he'll pick a fight with an opposition player or act a hard man or give him a bit of a shove. And then you'll go, someone's showing a bit of fight. And I fell for it at the start. I was like, great to see. But now I'm just like, Jesus Christ,
Seen fellas do that for 30 years. Don't fight, don't buy into it anymore, Don't buy into it anymore.
One point, one point I want to pick up on. Rory Keaton, do you think he'd get 20 goals a season if he had proper service coming into him?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Best striker in the league.
Absolutely. But we don't have the quality. This season, yes, I think so. Maybe Afalabi, which is an interesting. Like the two boys have a shootout if they both play for the Golden Boot on Friday night, which is an interesting aspect. We'll talk about that later on. I think because he's in such a poor side, and we are a poor side. Like let's not kid ourselves. Like we are a poor side. He's living on scraps, and I think he showed definite signs yesterday of frustration. You know, I mean, he had the incident where the whole stadium just all inhaled at the same time and just went, oh no, and the ref took out a yellow card and the whole person went, thanks, because if he gets red there, he's probably getting done for violent conduct or something stupid like that in the referee's report, and he's getting 2 games and he's missing the playoff game. But that to me looked like it was born out of frustration because he was just living on absolute scraps, you know. No, to be fair, I will say this. I don't think he's been at his absolute best the last few games either. But overall, over the season, I think, yeah, he's definitely been up there. Definitely be up there as the best in the league. I mean, he'll be in the team of the season. He'll probably in the... I know we don't do a player of the season. This is personality, you know. He'll probably be in the running for that. So I think there will be some national acknowledgement come his way for the season that he's had as well.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the Totap MVP from the Derry game. Jonas won this, 44.4% of the vote. Bagsy, second, 29.4%. Kravchuk, third, 14.5%. And Werman in fourth with 11.1%. Penny, for your thoughts? Colm Nolan, how good is that guard of honour going to be? Laughing face. Billy Dorney, mixed, to be honest. Best and grittiest first 45 I've seen from this team. Yes, we'd no luck, ref officials, but let's speak honestly, we should not be in this situation under any circumstances. A city this size that can produce a decent team, something needs to change soon. I think he got it spot on at the end. Wayne, Richie Holland's Rebel Army, the most determined I've seen this team all year. Great first half, second meh. A tale of two cities, again from Billy Dorney. Owen O'Donovan, too upset to talk now, so we'll reply tomorrow. But first thoughts are Damien robbed us, O'Reilly should have seen red, and Coleman was absolutely shocking as usual. Harsh on Coleman?
Very. Yeah, that's very harsh. Yeah, but like some of our supporters just really don't like Ian Coleman, and doesn't matter what he does, he's not going to change their mind. Like, and obviously Owen's in that camp. But yeah, I thought Cian was all right the other night. To be honest, I like him. To be honest, you get what you get with him. Like, and I don't think technically he's the greatest player in the world, but like you could see it means an awful lot to him. And in a season where that's something we've lacked so much at times, like for me, I personally, I said I like Ian Coleman. I'm not saying he's the greatest player in the world, but I said he certainly cares every time he puts on the shirt, and it's never for lack of effort or lack of trying or anything like that. So, but yeah, there is certainly a bit like Aaron Bulger. There's certain sections of our supporters that just don't like him, and that's the nature of football fans, isn't it? And it's a game of opinions.
Dickie, were you going to say something?
No, Eileen covered it all.
The Donny Ford Ultra Mega Sergeant platoon comes in, utterly embarrassing in the second half. Derry scored after the ref played an advantage to us, but this season, us having possession is not an advantage. Laughing face. Hard to believe that some of our players are actual professional footballers. Clown emoji face palm. David Crowley comes in, Kabia, FFS face palm. Kevin Cronin lacking quality, no threat up either flank. Philly Crowley, keep November 10th free. Colin Porter, subs made absolutely no difference. LOI Observer comes in. Them useless pricks have blood on their hands. Just felt a bit
don't overreact
extreme,
anyway.
But I couldn't know what to end on. All right, and I think that concludes our first app, this Tote App episode. I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors, NordVPN. We'll be back in the second half with the Shamrock review and as well mailbag and jacking off.
This podcast is sponsored by NordVPN, so listen up to the ad and hear what it's all about and get our offer for you. So, what is a VPN? Here's the nerd porn. A VPN connection establishes a secure connection between you and the internet. Via the VPN, all your data traffic is routed through an encrypted virtual tunnel. This disguises your IP address when you use the internet, making its location invisible to everyone. Now the geeks have just blown their load. Here's for the normal person. So basically you can browse the net safely. Is that all I hear you ask? Absolutely not. If you think the government is watching you, then fear no more tinfoil hat man. They can't. With NordVPN, what else? Every wanted to watch BBC Player, or something that's not available in your location. With NordVPN, you can watch all the stuff that you want in any location. Netflix across the world is available, so you can access the latest episode of that Mexican soap opera that you've always wanted save money. Other countries can get stuff way cheaper, so jussy pop yourself in a different location and watch the bank balance, thank you. And of course, enjoy you time, you dirty man. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/totap to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee.
Welcome back to part 2 Toe Tapper. It is time for the Shamrock review. City 0, Shamrock 0. Decky, we'll go to you first on this one. Your overall thoughts on the game?
It's probably opposite to the vast majority of our games this year. We were completely outplayed in the first half. And again, going in at half time was ton to the lads. It was like, Jesus, Rovers are going to make the adjustments and come out and, most likely put us to bed second half. And that didn't happen. We made the adjustments. And we were much better in that second half. And that's hasn't been something that's really happened this season. And it's a tiny thing. But you're at the stage now where you're heading into a playoff and you're trying to take the tiny things that are happening late in the season and hoping that they become big things in the playoff game, And I think that adjustment where basically Kravchuk and Bolger were far more disciplined, sat a little deeper, and we got a foothold in the game in midfield to a degree. Now the game plan was, or it looked like it was like, let's keep it at 0-0 and we'll have a goal later on, which is fine. First half was concerning because you're playing Shamrock Rovers' second team and they completely dominated us. There's two ways of looking at it. Oh, we're shit. Or you can just look at it and say, look, lads, that's genuinely the difference in quality and how far away we are from being anyway competitive. And we have a long, hard, arduous road in front of us. And I see people thinking, we'll just get through the playoff and we'll make a push for Europe next year. Stop, forget about it. This is a 3, 4, 5 year journey before you get yourself back to a Shamrock Rovers or a Pats level, Okay, I say 3, 4, 5 year. I recognise in the League of Ireland that things can change a bit quicker than that, but we're miles off it. And we know we're miles off it, so there's no point in getting into it again. But look, I think it just illustrated that point very well. But as I said, half time we adjusted and we win the game only for an unbelievable save from Leon Poles later on.
Two.
And it was an unbelievable save. And two, the Kravchuk one's this cross, but the save from the header is incredible. And it's just we don't get much go our way. We've said this already, and that would have been a nice boost. It would have been a good game to win, but we didn't lose it. And we conceded 1 goal in 2 games against Derry and Shamrock Rovers. We've conceded 1 goal in 3 games in total. Again, you're clinging to the small things and hope, but that's what we have to do. We're fans. I'm sure that's what Richie's saying to the players and we'll be saying to the players all week. we've conceded 1 in 3. We've 2 clean sheets out of the last 3 games. Let's go to Bohs and keep another clean sheet, go into the playoff game on the back of 3 clean sheets from 4. And all of a sudden, whoever it is, Waterford or Cove, are going to be thinking, well, these boys are after tightening up big time at the back. I wonder, can we score? You know, let's start putting doubts into the minds of those who we're going to face. We all have our own doubts about ourselves. We know what they are. But let's start putting things out there that will put doubts in the mind of Waterford or Cove, whoever it may be, when they have to come and play us.
Eileen, cause to be concerned that it was largely the Shamrock Rovers' second string team.
Yeah, but like I suppose I just would be cognizant that I think like the way the result went Friday night and the way the Sligo Drogheda game went is almost like, I suppose, like as a player and you're playing at a high level, they always had this hope that maybe they would kind of save themselves from a playoff, and I think it's like leaving the air out of a balloon. And I thought they were really deflated early, and it said once they got in at half time, obviously Richie and the backroom team were able to get their message across, and we were a lot better in the second half, an awful lot better. And I've been impressed with Tiernan Brooks, like it's his distribution, like he had a couple of really like quick long balls, and like Wayne spoke last week and like he hit the nail on the head when he said like we do not move the ball fast enough. Like we don't at all, whether players just aren't capable of doing it or they just don't have that confidence at the moment to do it. So once or twice it was a real option for us, and I think especially with a playoff approaching, like if he stays in goal, like that's kind of like once or twice like that long ball or that quick long ball was kind of like distribution that we haven't seen it all year, like, do you know what I mean, since David Harrington last year, which I think was something we probably took for granted. It was such a good outlet for us. But yeah, like I know it was Shamrock's second team, but as Decky said it, like we're a million miles from that, like we're a million miles from them. And even like some of the players they're playing there, like they're still like they'd all start for us, like that second string team. So like I suppose that's probably how you have to look at it. Like there's not one of those players that you wouldn't be saying, oh yeah, like nah, he'd be on our bench. Like they wouldn't, they'd all start. So yeah, look, unlucky in the end, I think, not to win it. Might be slightly concerned about Josh Honohan. Obviously Richie said afterwards he had a little bit of a niggle. And like it's no joke playing on that pitch twice in 3 days. It's tough, like, so hopefully there's nothing serious there. But like it was that kind of, I suppose we'll talk about in the Bohs preview, but like as Decky said earlier on with Rory Keating, where he has that moment you're like, I'm be sent off. I nearly want to go and put Under 8s out against Bohs so I don't have that feeling again, to be honest, about someone missing playoffs. Do you know, like it's that fine line. Are you preparing for the playoffs, or are you going to have to wrap 1 or 2 up? And I think it might be a case of 1 or 2 might have to be wrapped up on Friday night just so that they're okay for the following week.
Okay. It came up in the mailbag, but I will go to it now. Are we going with Brooks or are we going with Byrne for the rest of the season? Stick with you, Eileen.
I think I'd stay with Brooks, I think, to be honest. I think he's very vocal. As I said, I think his distribution is something that we've really, really missed. I think he was very, very good in the 2 games. I don't know anything about goalkeeping. Probably couldn't catch a cold, but maybe for the Derry goal does he lead with his wrong hand? But I also know nothing about goalkeeping, so I am cognizant of that. I don't know. I just think for me, he looks better. But as I said, I'm not 100% sure. But I certainly think he offers something that we have missed since David Harrington's gone with his distribution.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a better presence to him. Decky, would you go be taking Brooks for the rest of the season when you're finished your on there?
Oh, do you know what? I'm not trying to avoid the question, and I will say I think I'm sticking with Byrne because I don't think Ollie Byrne has done anything to not deserve to be in goal, but it's certainly not a hill I'm willing to die on. And Richie and the coaches are watching them in training every day, and they have a far greater idea of their goalkeeping ability than I would ever have. Eileen raised the point. For me, Tiernan Brooks goes with his wrong hand for the Derry game. He goes with his left across his body. To me, it's you put up your right hand and you have a much better chance of getting your right hand up and tipping the ball over the crossbar. But I was on to a goalkeeper on Saturday and they were saying, no, there's different reasons why you do that. And So look, I'm that's not a criticism of Tiernan, and I'm quite comfortable with either the which they go with. As I said, I'm leaning towards Ollie simply because I don't think he did a whole lot wrong in the 12 or 13 game span that he played for us in goal.
No, he's been decent. He's been decent. We're going to go on to the MVP, Richie Holland, the clear winner with 47.6% of the vote. Brooks with 23.8%. Dykesteele with 15%. Honohan with 13.6%. A reminder, the MVP is most valuable person, not necessarily player. And we're going to straight into... Well, we just made that up on that night.
Can we just say we might as well say it? Like we put Richie in there for obvious reasons and whatnot, but it doesn't affect the MVP is over. The MVP has been won. It can't. There's not enough games left to alter that outcome, and I guess everybody can probably guess that Rory Keaton is this season's toe tap MVP.
How are we going to get that trophy?
We just need to buy a trophy. Yeah, we just need to buy a trophy, get it engraved, and somehow get it to him. Because, of course, we should have had all that done for yesterday in the last home game and the rest of it. But toe tap being toe tap, we'll sort it out. We'll come up with something toe tappy in the next couple of weeks and get it to him somehow or another,
Yeah. Hopefully, he won't be throwing any stuff on the pitch, though. Penny, for your thoughts. Duncan Noonan. Really strong second half performance they can be proud of. If we can play it like that on Friday, we could turn Bohs over and bring it into the playoffs. Billy Dorney, dribbled first half, but bloody brilliant heart in the second half, lacking quality. 100% effort in the last 45. Anthony O'Sullivan outclassed most of the game, to be honest. Good push towards the end. We are adapting better tactically to games towards the end, which is good. Owen Donovan, good performance tonight by the lads. Had a couple of good chances in the second half, including the save. LOI Observer should start a petition to ban us from taking long throw-ins. Yeah, the long throw-ins, has one of them ever worked remotely well all season?
No.
Why?
Can I just state as well, I'm glad that Owen O'Donovan recovered from being unable to speak on Friday night to being back to being able to communicate with us on Monday anyway. So glad to hear you're feeling better, Owen.
Oh, go on. What was the story?
No, but that's it. He said on Friday's mailbag that he couldn't speak. He was too upset to speak on Friday.
Okay.
But he was back to us on Monday. So as I said, I'm just glad to hear he was okay. Look, long throw-ins, but they are a weapon. It is getting the ball in the box, and
yeah, but hit it to someone who can then take it on their foot and then cross it in.
No, I know, I understand. There's a part of me wants to say that maybe it hasn't worked all year, but it's going to work in the playoff final and go in off Cian Coleman's
we haven't scored very many from corners either.
No, we haven't, but we don't generate many corners. We have the second lowest corner count in the league after UCD. But that's probably for obvious reasons. But again, that could you can argue then that comes down to quality as well, because when you're not creating chances and you're not getting balls in the box, then defenders aren't knocking them away. And there's always a reason. The reason we don't generate many corners is because we're not getting quality balls into the box that have to be defended in a way that they have to be cleared and put out for corners. But look,
Bagsy took one.
Bagsy
took one about 5 feet. It was like he threw a balloon. It's about 10 feet. No, it actually ended up. I think it ended up in a chance somehow. I think it was a crab truck or someone rescued it. But yeah, I don't know why we keep persisting with him, and I don't see it working in the playoff final. But I hope I am wrong. Quiet enough, old Penny, this week. There was only, I'd say, 8 or 9 in there. I think people were fairly content.
You're in a lull, Dan. You're in a lull now, Dan, where people wait till you see Bohs on Friday night. There'll be about 6 votes in the MVP, I'd say, and maybe 3 contributions to Penny for your thoughts, because everybody's
just recharging.
Okay, let's just recharge the batteries now. It's going to be a massive build up to that playoff game as well. There's going to be be it Cove or Waterford. If it's Waterford, next week's pod is going to be all about, you know, we might open. I'm debating whether we open the pod with the opening intro music from Porridge or whether we do it from Prison Break, you know. If it's Cove, obviously it's going to go a very different route, but it will still be intense. So, like, there's going to be a big
jacking off intensely.
There's going to be a big media build up.
I'm glad Wayne is back
there's going to
for
be
that.
a big media build up to that. There's going to be a big social media build up to it, and there's going to be a lot of shit flying on social media and the rest of it, you know. So I think, yeah, look, Monday was always going to be quiet. I think this Friday will be quiet, and then you get into a big week of build up into that big game then, and then all hell breaks loose on that Friday night.
Okay.
Win, lose or draw, all hell breaks loose, I think.
We're basically underway with the Bohs preview anyway. In Dalymount this Friday, City versus Bohs. 2 games left in our season. This is the one to prepare in anticipation of the big day. Eileen, like, where do we even begin? What are we starting the team that is going to play the playoff final? Presumably so. Or are you trying to, as I think you said earlier, put some lads in cotton wool?
Well, I know I might be wrong. Is Aaron Bulger possibly only 1 card off suspension, so I wouldn't imagine he's going to play.
Yeah, he can't play. Yeah. He cannot.
Like or not, he's not going to be risked. I'm on Team Decky in the Aaron Bulger argument, so he's definitely not going to be risked.
Yay!
But like, yeah, I do think he'll probably go with as close as he can go to that starting 11 for the playoffs, because I suppose you have to, and football's football, and you can, I suppose, try your best to avoid injuries and stuff. But look, these things can happen anyway, in injuries in training even, like, so. I think once they're fully fit, I don't think he's going to risk anyone with a knock or anything like that. I think we'll see close enough what we're going to see the following Friday. I think Bohs, I don't know, I hate Bohs. Just go out and get a result and just upset them. They're just so irritating. Are they even a football club? Are they just climate officers who like bees? I don't know. I don't like talking about Bohs. I really don't like them. And does anyone have Heal the World? That's the only reason I came on.
Are they still fighting for that European place, or is that sewn up for them?
No, that's still ongoing.
They're in 6th.
They're in 6th.
They're like, yeah, they've fallen badly. They have fallen badly, and I mean, their record over the last 4 months is not great. And like, I know now I'm getting way ahead of myself, like, but if we stay up, and I think you look to next season and you look at which clubs might be vulnerable, like clubs that will finish above us this year that might be vulnerable. Obviously, Sligo are the obvious one. Galway didn't finish above us, but coming up, you'd hope that you could finish above them. And I think Bohs are one that are really vulnerable, because Keith Buckley is obviously, unfortunately for him, and you don't ever want to see any player get a serious injury. He did his ACL 2 weeks ago. So he's gone for maybe half of next season. They probably lose James McManus. They probably lose McManus, Clark maybe, to England, who are 2 of the better young players. Afalabi, I know they're in a strong position with, because they have him on a 2-year deal. So he has a year left. But if he gets an offer from England and he really wants to go, it's difficult to stop him. And if you do stop him, then you have a pissed off player on it. So of all the clubs, I think Bohs are one who might be vulnerable next year. Pats are going to lose Sam Curtis. They might lose Adam Murphy.
Dundalk are surely,
are
surely there for the taking next year, if we're still here.
Yeah, Dundalk or another one. Yeah, so like, I'd have Bohs. Like, I'm not saying they will be, but I'm saying there's a way it can work out where Bohs are vulnerable next year. But as I said, that's getting way ahead of myself. They're playing the cup final the week after, the same weekend we play the playoff. Do they put out their cup final team and go into it, or does the Keith Buckley injury scare them? The same way that the Rory Keating reaction on Monday has scared me, because I was always in the camp of, I want to play the team against Bohs that I'm going to play in the playoff. And then that Rory Keating moment happened, and I've nearly flip-flopped completely, because the consequences of something stupid happening are so draconian, you know? And I think if, like, Richie and the lads will know from training and the rest of it, you know, how guys are feeling and what way things are going. But I think if they get any sense at all that there's a frustration in Rory that, there's even a 0.5% chance that he might lash out or do something. So I think you can't take the risk, like, you can't. Kevin Kostovich didn't play on Monday. You can probably play him. Jonas was sick. Joe Brian Whitmarsh has missed the last 2 games. I'm fully certain Richie wants him in his playoff team. So I think there are players that you start because they need a start. I think Joe is one of those. Obviously, Eileen's already said Barry. Yeah, I won't even. Aaron Bulger can't play. He just can't. He can't even get on the team bus for fear that he trips somebody in the car park or something, and a referee books him in the car park. Like, you just like keep him away out of it. Like, just Aaron, stay at home. Like, don't leave the house for the weekend. Stay at home. If you see a referee, if you're walking down Patrick Street and Pat Kelly's coming against you, cross the road. Take absolutely no chances whatsoever. Right. So, yeah, like, I don't know. Does he want to put Ollie Byrne back in goal and give him another shot? I don't know. Like, it's really, really hard to know. Really hard to know what he's going to do. Guys are going to be suffering as well. Obviously, Josh picked up a niggle. Lots of guys in the last 15 minutes against Shamrock Rovers, and it wasn't just our guys, it was Rovers guys as well. Guys were stretching out. Even when they were moving, when they were running, they were half limping. They were dragging their muscles and their bones around, kind of in spite of them. So all that stuff weighs up. Like, so I've gone from I want to play my playoff team to almost going, I don't want to risk anybody, But then they go in cold the next week, having not played in 12 days or whatever it is. So is that, look, this is why Richie and the lads are on the big money to make these decisions, So I trust whatever decisions they make. I will say that much.
Just out of curiosity, were the Cove players doing, I don't know what word I'm looking for, something similar to the City players, limping around a bit? Were they carrying a few knocks?
Yeah. Like, it was tough going in Cove on Saturday. It was like the pitch was like Kevin Keegan, Shane Keegan, said it that look, he wanted the game when they were 1 down. He wanted the game abandoned. The second they got the 1-1, he had no interest in the game being abandoned. Which is fair enough. But like, it wouldn't have been that outrageous if it was. Genuinely, it wouldn't. Same way as like the Shamrock Rovers game. Like, I don't think that game is ever being played if there's 3 months left in the season. But it's the last game, it's the last week, second last weekend of the season.
They're not
when are they going to reschedule it for? They can't, So I think that's basically the only reason that game went ahead, to be honest. But look, I think we just want to get in and out of the Bohs game. Not worried about the results. Would like to see a good performance. I think we need a performance. But I'm really torn on a team. I'm playing Joe O'Brien Whitmarsh. After that, I'm really not sure what I'm doing.
Okay, I'll stick with you here. We'll go to Eileen in a sec. Prediction time. Ultimately, what do you think the score is going to be?
I'm going to say Bohs go with their cup final team. We don't go with our playoff team. We don't go with a lot of our playoff team. And we still beat them 2-1 because they're on a downward spiral.
I also am predicting 2-1. Eileen?
I will go 1-0 City. We'll keep our clean sheet streak. So
Very good, very good.
Clean sheet will be important.
Yeah, we're going moving in to the mailbag now. We're going to have a rummage around.
Postman pattern in black and white cat.
The cat mix race.
Early in our day.
Duncan Noonan comes in. What's more important, buses or bees? Need an in-depth analysis. Eileen, we'll go to you.
it's nearly turned me off coming on the podcast.
Because you did reply already. Yeah.
I think he just didn't want to hear from me. And I get that too. No comment. I'm not talking about that excuse for a football club. I leave that to Decky there now. Or climate officers. He left them out.
Dan, you're the host here. You need to get a grip of your guests. Like, you can't leave them bail like that, you know? Like, it depends on what world you want to live in. If you want to live in a world where you can get from Mallow to Cork in approximately 35 minutes, then it's buses. If you want to live in a sustainable environment where you have little black and yellow things with wings that pollinate flowers on a regular basis, then it's bees, you know. And
but you can sell
I don't know what to say beyond.
bus seat designed jerseys, and you know you can give all that money to UNICEF then, or the like, if you really think about it that way, Decky.
Yeah, but look, if you want to go down that road, why don't we just say that Bohs are a football club that now reflect one man's political views? And
Pretty much.
just say, look, that's what they are. You know, it's one man's political views that has somehow taken over a whole football club. Fair play to him. More power to him.
Hit the nail with your head. Billy Dorney.
I don't know what else to say. Like,
Play Cove in Cove, and we're going down. Playing Cove in Turner's Cross or a neutral venue, 50-50 versus Waterford anywhere on the planet Earth. We'd bait the shite out of them. I fear Cove, not just JD.
Well, we're not playing Cove and Cove anyway. That's one thing that is not happening. And actually, we might as well address this now, because it's the thing, you know, I got messages from people in Cove the other day when it was Sunday, I think we tweeted that Cove would be amenable to playing the playoff final. Should they make it, they would be okay with playing that in Turner's Cross against us. That's what I was told by people involved in Cove when I was in Cove on Saturday for the game. And it makes perfect sense. When you sit down and you think about it, I genuinely believe, I think a Cork City Cove playoff final in Turner's Cross sells out, or goes pretty close to selling out, because it would be an interesting game, you know, for your, oh yeah, Jesus, 15 quid, I'll go out and watch Cove and City, all right. Like, I think you get 6,500 people there by 15 quid is what? 100 and... I wish I could do the maths in my head now that I had done them before we started. But, you know, it's a nice few pound. Take out the expenses and it's a 50-50 gate split. Perfect. Say Cove, I'm pulling numbers out of my arse now, so don't quote me. But say Cove pull what, 45, 50 grand out of that game? Fair part of them. If we all have to go to Waterford or we all have to go to Dublin, you go from 6,500 to what, 2,500 maybe? Plus they then have the expense of running a bus, feeding 30 odd people. You know, all those expenses add up. And you probably go from maybe clearing 45, 50 to maybe what? 20, 25 maybe? If even. Less. So as a business decision, it makes perfect sense for Cove to be willing to play in Turner's Cross. Now, like Shane Keegan says, I've managed Cove twice in Turner's Cross against Cork City. I've won both times. Like, they're not afraid to play us, lads. They are not afraid.
That's why I think Turner's Cross
why would they be?
Is to our detriment, to be honest. Even if it's a home ground, we haven't really showed up in the big games there all season. They have, well, not in big games necessarily, Munster Senior League, but still, they've beaten us there. They don't care.
I don't buy into that, because each individual game is an event of its own. You know, what happened, like, and people say this about, Cork City don't play well in Turner's Cross in front of RTE cameras and the rest of it. Well, what happened in front of RTE cameras 2.5 years ago has no bearing on what's going to happen in front of RTE cameras next week, next month, next year, you know? Each game is just an individual game played on its own merits. So I don't really buy into that. But, like, just one other thing to finish this up. I was then in Turner's Cross, obviously, on Monday for the Shamrock Rovers game, and I spoke to people in Turner's Cross, and the impression in Turner's Cross was that while, yes, Cove are amenable and willing to play the game in Turner's Cross, that because the Irish under-21 game against Italy is the following weekend, that the game would not be played at Turner's Cross because the pitch would be saved for the under-21 international. So the FAI stroke MFA stroke whoever it may be would be willing to send City and Cove fans to Waterford or Richmond Park rather than allow the game to be played in Turner's Cross. Now look, that was the word on the grapevine. That's what was being spoken about by people who should know. So it's a fluid situation, and I guess we'll see soon how it works out. But obviously that all depends on Cove beating Waterford next Saturday.
Okay. Rory Lally comes in. It was an honour to meet the stats man. I presume that's you, Decky, at the Rovers game. Did he ask you any questions about turtles, trains, maybe?
No, he just asked me, did I know who he was? And I was honest. I said, no, not a clue. And then he put a face to the name. So, yeah, it was great to meet Rory.
Do you feel like a celebrity, Deck?
Perfect.
Absolutely not. I knew somebody was going to say that. Like, it's like you were setting.
Did he ask you for a selfie?
Like, you know, no.
Oh, disappointing. To sign his arse cheek or anything? No.
My head doesn't fit in selfies, so it's too rotund, too wide. So unfortunately, that isn't possible.
I can't believe I forgot about this now, because someone coming out of the ground comes up to me and goes, "You better ask Decky about that on the pod now." And I swat it was only 1 minute of extra time added on at the end. There was surely 4 or 5 minutes should have been nailed on there.
There was the ground staff shouting at the referee.
Of course, we
get them off the pitch. Minus 2 minutes, lads. Get off.
There was somebody above in the MFA office with a laser rifle training on the referee, you know, going 1 minute max. Of course, I mean, it was a minimum 4 minutes just for the substitutions alone before you allowed, like, for any injury time. Josh Honahan was down injured, obviously. We made was it 3 or like we used the 5 subs, but I think we did them in 3 banks. So that's 3 minutes. It's 30 seconds. That's a minute and a half. Rovers also made 5 subs. They also did in 3. So there's 3 minutes in substitutions. It's not like it's a minimum of 4 minutes. But like, look, it was he was I think
it is what it is.
He was instructed, like, less time on the pitch is absolutely the minimum you can get away with.
Dylan Hennebury comes in. When will the FAI throw on the 6-1 and see what the weather is going to be? Absolutely shocking. The cross was barely playable last night, and it will only get worse. That said, where will Cove Watford game be played, and the Winner City game? I reckon Dan's back garden.
Well, like, I was surprised to see them officially announce Turner's Cross today for Waterford and Cove, because we left there yesterday going, there's no way that game can be played there, you know? And they announced it. What is it? 5:15, is it?
But like, there's another week of rain, like, not a hope. It's not going to head there.
I was just going to say, it's rain, lash rain all day. I can't see it, lads. I can't see it.
Gareth the Boy Barry, are we having a GoFundMe for Salty Shamrocks and Bitter Bradley because they didn't get a Guard of Honour?
Try your eyes, mate.
No, GoFundMe days are well and truly over, I'd imagine.
Comes in on our Instagram. A reminder, we are on Instagram, of course. Would you rather play Cove or Watford in the final? Personally, Watford. Decky?
Yeah, probably Waterford as well, to be honest.
It'd be like trying to choose your favourite child out of City or Cove.
No, there's, like, you keep going on about that. Like, there's no different distant relations. Like Shane Keegan said it to me, like, when on the interview, he says, you're probably the only neutral here. Now, I wasn't, because there was at least 50 Cork City heads down there that I recognised. Richie Holland was there. Dermot Usher was there. There was lads in City jerseys all over the place, you know. So there was a big City scouting mission going on in Cove on Saturday. But look, I mean, I want to say Cove because I'd love to see the game played in Turner's Cross, and we can all be out there in, well, in my case, 45 minutes, and a lot of people's cases, 10, 15 minutes, and it could be a really, really big occasion in Turner's Cross. But, like, I'm not afraid of Cove. I'm not afraid of them. I respect them. I'm not afraid of them. But if they did beat us, like, it's just like, there's no coming back from it. Like, there would be no coming back from it ever. Doesn't matter if we won the first division and then came up and won 3 league titles in 4 years. You would have still been beaten by Cove in a relegation playoff game. Like, you know, there would be no washing the blood from your hands. You know, the stink. You'd still be showering in 30 years' time going, I can still smell that Cove relegation playoff defeat off myself. Like, you know, it's just like, yeah, like, it's like, oh man. It's just like, could you deal with it? Like,
Eileen. Cove or Waterford?
Waterford, for that exact reason. Like, I work with a fella that's a big Ramblers fan, and Jesus Christ, I couldn't face him. I genuinely couldn't face him if we lost him. I'd have to leave my job, to be honest, and maybe go and.
Sure, how many are in the town? Like, they have a big fan base.
They do.
There's not that many in that town.
No, they have a great fan base, in fairness, especially considering their population. Like, it's a really good community club, to be fair to Cove. Like, and look, for a part of me would love a City Ramblers final, but there would be that massive fear that we would lose to them. Yeah, so for that reason, Waterford. Which wouldn't be particularly fun to lose to either, I should add, but like maybe slightly less miserable.
But there was a few goalkeeper questions came in. I think we've kind of answered them. And then the last one, surely Turner's Cross won't be able for 3 games in a fortnight with the rain. Where will the playoff be? We've probably answered in other pods, but just sum it up just quick.
Dan, that would be 5 games in 3 weeks, because the playoff game will be on the 10th. The women's game against Shelburne is there on the 11th.
Oh, well, that's going to be.
And then you have the under 21. Then you have the Irish under 21 game the following weekend. So let's give due credit to all the fixtures. And then you said it'd be fixed. When we were leaving Turner's Cross on Monday evening following the Shamrock Rovers game, they were announcing on the PA system that the next game in Turner's Cross was the women's game against Shelburne on the 11th. I mean, the whole country knows that game is going to be played in Turner's Cross, but sure, look, they could keep announcing it on the PA anyway. Sure, pretend it will be.
Look, we got to jacking off earlier in the day, but just play the song, Dickie, just to give. Just to send the people home happy.
I've been jacking off, beating my meat.
His favourite player is Jack Doherty.
What else can I do? Cause my
What's the
dreams
jack
just
off
came
with
true. I've been jacking off.
Sorry, to be twice in a row. To be fair, I asked Jack about it when we finished it. I said, "Look, do you mind?" He was only laughing. He was like, "It's only a bit of crack, like, you know."
Do you reckon the City players would take it as such?
I think, to be fair, I think we genuinely don't know what kind of a relationship we have with the City players. We don't, like, because we're not, like, one of the things we've never done is approach City players. Since this podcast started, one of the things we said was, look, we're not going to approach City players. We're not going to DM them. We're not going to send them messages and asking them questions and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, it's not a route we've ever gone down. So we genuinely don't know what kind of a relationship we have with them because we don't bother them. And then Colin asked us not to approach them after games and ask them for interviews and that, and we always respected that. Even when he left, I still respected that and have never done it. So that, well, then obviously we got horsed out, so I couldn't do it. But, you know, there was a little intervening period where it would have been possible to do so, but out of respect for Colin's wishes and rules, we didn't. So we genuinely don't know how the players view this podcast, or whether they ever listen, whether they do or they don't.
If someone is talking about your workplace, you're gonna be listening, giving out about the boss.
Probably that you'd imagine. Like, I mean, you'd imagine probably, but we've never had any confirmation or anything else, so we can't sit here and say, yeah, the players listen. But like, I don't think people should confuse a lack of quality with a lack of effort and a lack of heart. I don't think this season has lacked effort from 95% of the players. I don't think it's lacked heart from 95% of the players. We're just not good enough. For me, that's what it comes down to. Very simply. It's just quality-wise, we're just not where we need to be.
You're lucky Wayne's not here.
Look.
Eileen, any
maybe we're all lucky.
Any residing thoughts?
No, but it's a podcast, and I don't think anyone takes it too seriously. Anyone with half a brain doesn't take it too seriously anyway. It's football. We speculate, we chat. It is what it is. There's nothing personal, nothing like that. Do I think players listen? I don't know. I was blocked by a former Cork City player who obviously searched his name once on Twitter. So I would imagine players probably do listen because it's human nature. But what they think of it, I don't know, remains to be seen. That was Kieran Sadlier, by the way, still blocked on Twitter by him. I don't even think I said anything that bad. I don't know.
Why did he block you?
Shit or something. I don't know what I did. I don't think I even said anything that bad. I don't know. I would nothing that bad anyway. But he obviously searched his name. It wasn't that I'd said, "What are you at Kieran Sadlier?" But he obviously searched his name. So look, footballers are.
Right, okay, and so yeah. Right, okay. I was once sent a DM by a Cork City captain on Twitter, long before there was podcasts or anything else, where I had criticised team's performance. It was in.
Yeah, you're going
to. If I say what year it was, then everybody knows who the captain is. So I would. But no.
Just say it and beep it out.
No, I won't. That's not fair. He's still playing. And I criticised performance and criticize some of the player things. And out of the blue, he sent me a DM saying, "Look, I saw what you said on the thing. You're right. A lot of what you're saying is correct. But I just ask you to stick with us. We'll see the season out, and we'll give our all till the end of the season, and then we'll see what happens in the off season." And I sent them back a huge message, listed out players by name. This fella hasn't done anything in 14 games, and he's doing X, Y, Z, as everything else. And the message I sent him, there was absolutely no way he could ever reply to it, because either he says, "Yeah, you're right," or "No, you're wrong." If he says, "No, you're wrong," I send him another 10 messages and he never gets rid of me. And if he says, "Yeah, you're right," then he's absolutely hung out to dry. So, but it was funny. So players do look at things, and they do obviously see what's going on online and times like that. And I always had massive respect for that guy, because he came to me directly and said, "I saw your criticism. I understand what you're saying, and just ask you to stick with us, and we know we haven't been good enough, etc., etc." But yeah.
But do you think you ran him out? You ran him out of the club now in retrospect?
That happens down through the years. No, definitely not. Definitely not. I met him. See, people are going to twig who it was. No, it probably doesn't matter anyway. But I did bump into him at a game in Limerick a couple of years back, and we had a chat, and he knew who I was. He must
just another fan.
Sounds like such a shitheaded.
Just another fan.
No, that sounds like.
Of course, he knew who I was.
Shitheaded thing to say. Look, no, that's not. Oh, fuck's sake! No. But yeah, there's nothing I can say now, so I'm just going to end it there. But we did have a chat and a laugh, and God, I went, oh man, I'm just glad Wayne isn't here anyway. But when he listens to this, he's just gonna, oh man.
Right, I think that concludes this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. I've been saying thanks all the time, so thank you, Eileen, for giving up your time. I know there's a bit of technical difficulties at the start, but we do appreciate it, and you're a fantastic guest. We'd love to have you on all the time. Why don't you make the move?
It's just no. Do you know why? First of all, I'm too big a bluffer, and second of all, I just enjoy listening too much. Like, I've ruined my Wednesday now. I can't listen now when I'm on it. Like, that's annoying. I just want to say now before I go, first of all, thanks for having me on, and second of all, weren't you brilliant on News Talk today on Off the Ball? Your big boy pants.
Thanks, hon.
You were fabulous.
I tried my best when Joe was reading out what Bradley was saying at the start. I felt all the blood rush from my head. I was like, geez, I thought I was going to faint for.
It's not Leinster rugby comparison. Absolutely solid. 10 out of 10.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, can't go wrong, Dan. International
but not as well known as you, of course.
What? I suppose now we're going to call the episode "You Know Who I Am" or stupid like that. Are you just?
Yeah, we're not finished yet. Hold on, right? Adios, amigos.
Adios.
Dry your eyes, mate.
All right, adios.
Adios.
The Other Three Amigos podcast with Damien Shreenan, Wayne Mullins, and Declan McCormack.
3 lads, 1 podcast.